You guys, this is the reason why I never wore big dresses to school. Let me set the scene for you. 4th grade Joe, 9 years old, super perky and happy to be wearing a giant dress to school. You know, I don't know why I was. Maybe we had just gotten it. I was super excited about it. It was like a Wednesday. I was probably like, Mom, I want to wear this dress. And since I was mainly tomboyish my entire life, she was probably like, yes, wear it. So I took it to school. So I took it to school. It made playtime a little complicated, but that's fine. Recess was fine. I was one of those kids who liked to roll around in the dirt, climb trees, all that jazz. And I'm like, it's just a dress, it'll be fine. So it's time for like nutrition class. I don't know, they're trying to teach us about like pyramids and like food groups. My teacher starts looking at me funny. And then she kind of just says to the entire class, Josadak? And I'm like, is it Josadak? Can you come with me outside for a second? I'm like, yeah, sure. 4th grade me just comes with her outside. And when we're outside, she closes the door. And I'm like, huh. She slowly takes off her shoe. I was like, oh. Look for part 2. Okay, part 2. I honestly didn't expect to make 2 parts out of this. So my teacher was looking at me like so intensely while she was taking off her shoe. And I was so confused. Miss whatever your name is, because I don't remember. What are you doing? And she goes, don't move. And I start panicking. But I do what she says. Like, she gets her shoe, she holds it up to here. And then she throws it at me. And I literally jumped. She hit me in the bottom half of my dress. The shoe went flying. You know what else went flying? Right next to her shoe was the giantest spider I have ever seen in my life. I think it was a tarantula, which would have been fine because tarantulas are pretty much harmless. But at the time, both her and I were freaking out. She literally knocked the spider out. Her aim was so good. I'm actually amazed right now. She's like, oh my God, I saw that on your dress when you came in and I had to get it off. I was like, thank you. Yeah, I had no idea that was on there. So I retired that dress. No more dresses to school, not for Joe. Thanks for watching, Jatemo.
Story time! So yesterday my friends and I all went to the fair and there were 6 of us in total. And none of us wanted to have to worry about driving there and parking, so we just Ubered instead. So we left the fair around 11:15 and we walked to a nearby shopping center where the Uber picked us up about 10 minutes late. We ended up leaving at 11:30. We get in the Uber, the man says hello, and we head home the normal way. Everything's fine. And my parents don't like when I Uber, so they were tracking me on Life 360 from the moment I got in the car. After about 10 minutes in, I get a text from my mom, and it said, "Where are you?" I look up from my phone and I realize I have no idea where we are, and Ubers know their directions, they know how to take you home. We were 20 minutes out of the way. So I'm terrified. My mom's texting me nonstop, literally about to call the police. I'm gonna run out of time, but posting part 2 today. Okay, back to the Uber story. Our parents are freaking out, we're texting each other in our group chat so he doesn't hear us. Also, while this was all happening, he wasn't talking to us, but he had an earbud in, and he was talking to someone on the phone really quietly. It was super creepy. My mom starts calling me again, and he hears the ring. And one of my friends pulled up on her phone the directions to get home, which he also heard, so he knew that we thought something was off. After a little while longer, we finally know where we are, so we feel a little bit better. We were getting really close to the turn that goes into my friend's neighborhood, and we were thinking, if he doesn't make this turn, we're screwed. Thank goodness he makes a turn and we're back at my friend's house. But the scary thing is what if he was planning something, but since our phones were ringing and we had the GPS up, that he changed his mind. Because we were not going home. I still can't stop thinking about it. This is the one time Life 360 has come in handy. We're all safe now.
Something so disgusting happened to me and my cheer team. Story time. So on my last year of cheer, I thought it was going to be amazing. But was I so wrong? See, the cheer team last year was just so much better. So it gave me high expectations. And no, I don't mean the athletes. I meant the coaching was so much better. We had a cheer coach, a tumbling coach, and a workout instructor the previous year of cheer. But on my last year of cheer, the cheer coach decided to dip. And so our tumbling coach decided to be our regular coach that year. And that's when everything went downhill. For the sake of this video, I'm going to refer to this gross man as Dirty Dan. Because he was a dirty motherfucker. First things first, he had some dirty ass teeth. Shit was rotten as hell, black and green. He had hot ass breath. Don't even get me started about this man's BO. It should be illegal to smell like that. On top of it, he was always sweating. Always. And that's not even the worst part. When Dirty Dan used to help us tumble, his peen used to go up, 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 uppity. Something so disgusting happened to me and my cheer team. Story time. Part 2. So in the last part, I told you guys how my tumbling coach became our cheer coach, aka Dirty Dan. There was so much wrong with Dirty Dan. First off, his breath was hotter than the month of July. His teeth were so rotten they was turning green. And this fool was always sweating. He was really looking like he just ran a 5K. But the worst part is that his eggplant would go up, 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 uppity. every single time he helped us tumble. Mind you, we're 16 years old at this time. Chair, but make it electric. Bars, but with him behind it. Anyways, we told our principal about this. I literally wrote a 2-page essay to my principal about his boners. And I wasn't the only one. But you know what our principal said to us after we told her? She literally told us, I don't want to talk about this because it makes me uncomfortable. Like, bitch, how do you think we feel? Anyways, that year ended really badly and half the cheer team quit. He belongs to the streets and behind bars.
I don't usually take this app seriously, but what just happened to me was amazing. Obviously, none of you know this, but I've been homeless for quite some time now, and I've been staying with random people. It's been extremely detrimental to my mental health, as you can guess. But anyways, I was bumming around downtown, rich people territory. I was bumming around downtown with my friend Sarah, and I stumbled across a piano outside of one of the fanciest restaurants there. And I was like, yo, I love playing piano. So we popped in and asked if I could play it, and they were all like, sure. And so I sat down in the seat, started playing, and then a few minutes later, a guy starts videoing me. Then he goes back into the restaurant, and I was like, well, okay, whatever. A little bit later, another guy comes out, sits right next to the piano, so I was like, okay, maybe they want us to leave. So I got up to leave, and the guy was like, do you want some breakfast? And me and Sarah were like, we are just way too poor to be here, so no, thank you. And he was like, no, I own the restaurant, and I want to give you breakfast. And we were like, okay. I sit down, and he offers me a job to play piano outside of the fanciest restaurant in downtown 3 times a week.
Guys, so I'm like walking through this neighborhood and I'm trying to get some fresh air, and then this old dude waves at me, and he was wearing Balenciaga, so I didn't think he was gonna be weird. So I literally take my AirPods out and I say hi to him, and then he's looking at me up and down, and he's like, boy, you're cute. I like your boots, they look super thick. And I look at him like, yeah, they're solid. And I try to walk away, and he's like, no, come back. So I turn around and I'm like, what's up? And he's like, I need to ask you for a favor. And I said, depends what it is. So then he's like, how would you like to make some money? And I said, no, sir. And try to walk away, and he's like, no, it's gonna be super quick, super simple. All you have to do is kick me in the groin. And I look at him and say, no way, sir, you're gonna press charges on me. And he's like, no, I'll pay you. And I said, how much? And he said $50. And I said, no, sir, I'm sorry, $50 ain't worth it. And then he looks at me and he says, fine. And y'all, this man gave me $100 to kick him in the...
I'm gonna tell you guys the story of how I was kicked out of my Spanish class on the first week of school. Okay, so I don't know if all schools do this, but in my school you had to take a foreign language class to graduate. And me, being the fluent Spanish speaker that I already am, decided to take Spanish. Not because it was easy, although that was part of it. I was already taking AP, ACE, and honors in all of my other classes. So I honestly just wanted a super easy class that I didn't have to think about. No stress. And I could get that requirement out of the way. So picture this. It's the first day of school, I walk into class. Fate would have it that my very best friend from 8th grade was also in this class. When I saw her, we immediately started freaking out. Shout out to Emery. And she was so happy that I was gonna be helping with her Spanish work and everything else. My Spanish teacher wasn't too happy about that. In fact, she asked me and 2 other girls who looked like me what we were doing there. And I honestly didn't know how to answer. I was kind of like, class, Spanish requirement, class. She said this would be way too easy for me. And you know what? She was right. Imagine trying to learn hello and how are you in a language you already know. But that was the point. I came in on Friday again, the first week of school, and she had a surprise for us. Look, this is part 2 on how I was kicked out of my Spanish class. And it was only the first week of school. So it was Friday and I walked in. I expected to hang out with my friend and learn how to say bien y tú. But instead, my teacher took me and 2 other students, separated us from the rest of the class, and made us take a Spanish 2 final exam. It was the first week of school! How dare she? My friend was like, oh my god, please fail it, please fail it, please fail it. The point of the test, I guess, was to prove that we knew Spanish and we didn't belong in our class. But I'm an overachiever. Guys, I don't fail tests. Do you remember the part about me taking AP, ACE, and honors classes? I don't take those classes because I fail tests. I took the test. It wasn't my best work. I definitely could have done better, but I ended up with a B. My teacher was like, just as I suspected. She handed me a hall pass and said, go to the guidance counselor. You need to switch out of this class. And I was like, ah! As I grabbed my backpack and slowly walked away as everybody else worked on their hellos, I got to look at my friend and kindly wave. Then I went down to the guidance counselor, who said practically every other class was full. They ended up having to put me in culinary, which is specifically for sophomore. I was a freshman, youngest person in that class.
I went to this crazy party. Storytime. Hold up, before y'all come for me, this was last year, so don't try me with that coronavirus. Don't worry, your girl has been social distancing. So me and my boyfriend went to this party. This bitch was fat as fuck. Keep in mind, it was a 2-story house, and there were hella heads upstairs and downstairs. So everyone's there having a good time, vibing with each other, chilling, not worried about the coronavirus, or hornets, or any of the other bad shit that happened this year. So everyone's just chilling. And then all of a sudden, a fight broke loose. And I was just sitting there like, oh, hell no. So me and my boyfriend just went upstairs and we were chilling up there. On the balcony specifically, keep that in mind. So So a little bit after that happened, the cops show up. And of course, everyone starts freaking out. Cops, cops, everyone hide. Some people ran, some people hid, but a lot of people went upstairs. Now this is where the story gets interesting. There were hella people upstairs, like too much. Remember how me and my boyfriend were all in the balcony? Well, it started creaking. Making part 2 right now, it gets so crazy. I went to this crazy party. Story time. Part 2. So I told y'all this party was fat as fuck. Everybody was having a good time. We were all chilling and vibing until someone had to start a fight. Then I said, oh hell nah, and dipped my ass upstairs. A little bit after the fight, cops showed up. And obviously people freaked out and they're like, oh my god, cops. Then hella people decided to go upstairs. So me and my boyfriend were just chilling on the balcony. And then there were obviously other people there too. And then all of a sudden, it starts making this creaky noise. I didn't think much of it, but my boyfriend got freaked. And he was like, honestly, I have a weird feeling, like, let's just go back inside. So I was like, all right, bet, let's go inside. We go inside, and not even 5 minutes later, the balcony collapses. It collapses. This bitch really said, poof. After that, I was like, oh, hell no, I'm leaving this bitch. So me and my boyfriend leave the party. As we're walking, all you see is red and blue light. And the kid that threw the party was screaming, oh my god, I'm gonna go to jail. Which he didn't. Supposedly no one got hurt, but there was a rumor that a girl broke her leg, so who knows?
I was 11 years old when my mom kicked me out of the house for the first time. It was a school day! The sun wasn't even out! So you know what I did? I took a shit in the front yard. And I smeared it on her house with a leaf! Fuck! And then I took my happy ass on the school bus with a fucking trash bag of my belongings and went to school. And I told all of my friends, naturally. I thought this was the best revenge. I thought this was a normal thing that happened between daughters and mothers. I got sent to the guidance counselor. And then a few years later, I found out that my stepdad had to power wash my feces.
It's okay that you booked a plane ticket home to surprise your mom for Mother's Day, but as your friend was driving you to the airport, you realized you had already missed your flight, so you spent $200 to rebook the flight for the next morning. It's okay that your kind boyfriend rearranged his Mother's Day plans to drive you to the airport at 6 a.m., but your alarm doesn't go off, so your boyfriend called and texted you, then broke into your building and banged on the door until you finally wake up 45 minutes before your departure time. It's okay that you sprinted through the empty airport and miraculously caught your flight, but during your layover you sat at your gate watching TikTok and didn't hear that your flight was boarding and didn't notice until they closed the door and the plane had left the gate, so you begged an employee who turned the flight around and you ran out on the tarmac and got on the flight and finally arrive home, only to surprise your mom, who yells at you for not warning her that you were coming home and refuses to hug you because of coronavirus.
My fiance broke off our wedding because of his best friend. So I met this guy, let's call him Caleb. When I first laid eyes on him, he was instantly the love of my life. He was captain of the football team at our college and I was the captain cheerleader. It was bound for us to date eventually. So he went up to me one day and asked me out, and his friends got hyped up. Surprisingly, we actually got along. He would take me out on dates twice a week, and we would text and communicate regularly. Rumors started flying around about him being gay at some point, but I quickly shut those down, as did he. We completely forgot it at some point. Then he got a best friend, let's call him Miles, and they were like two peas in a pod. They didn't act gay though, so I didn't suspect anything. We continued dating for 4 years. What happened in between this timeline was we actually got a pet dog together and we ended up living together. Eventually, he proposed. I could finally have my dream wedding. He was a famous football player and I was a stay-at-home wife, so he made bank. We planned our wedding, but as we kept planning our wedding, his best friend Miles kept coming around. One day, I wanted to have an intimate moment with him and he just declined. And he never does this, and I suspected something was up. So I checked his phone and I was reading a conversation about how Caleb was a little scared and nervous and was asking if he was making the right decision. Miles said that he was, but it looks like there was some deleted text in their conversation. I called Caleb in and asked him what this was about, and he said he was concerned of why I was snooping in his phone. I told him this was my only way of knowing what was wrong, since I assumed that he couldn't tell me himself. Which I knew I was wrong for, but I would later on apologize. I just wanted to know what was wrong, and I definitely didn't want to waste any time. He claims that he just got the marriage jitters and thought my parents didn't like him and didn't want to put me through that, even though that made absolute zero sense. I told him my parents loved him. They can be a bit harsh and a little bit overprotective at times, but they most definitely do, and he said that he was reassured. I apologized for looking through his phone and we continued to live life normally after that. 3 weeks later, we had the wedding. I was in the most beautiful dress and the wedding was near a literal waterfall. It was beautiful. I walked up the aisle, we said our vows, and we asked if anyone objected. Then, his best friend Miles stood up. He had confessed that he had been in love with me the entire time. I just stood there in shock and I was super confused. Because if anything, I thought that he was in love with the groom. And I barely know the guy, so how can you be in love with me? Then my fiance was upset and admitted that he was in love with him the entire time. So let me get this straight. His best friend was in love with me, and my fiance was in love with his best friend. Everyone just stood there and shocked. My fiance literally walked off the stage and shouted that the wedding is off. I was confused and shocked, but I didn't want the venue to go to waste. So I just decided to impulsively pretend to marry his best friend instead. So we ended up having a good time, and me and his best friend actually started dating. And now he's my fiance 3 years later. I checked his social medias to see how he's doing because I was curious, and it turns out he's now homeless. That's kind of sad. I guess karma is served to those who deserve it.